Welcome to JenniferLeads.com. I'm Jennifer. Today I'm going to give you some therapy techniques and tools you might use to help your child develop their phonological awareness skills. I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about phonological awareness or talking about the research behind it, but what I do want you to know before I start the demonstration is that phonological awareness is the building blocks or the foundation of teaching your child how to read and spell successfully and efficiently. Phonological awareness skills are highly important, and those skills are said to be the best predictor of how well your child will learn how to read and spell. So working with your child on phonological awareness is going to prepare their brain. It's going to work on the area of our brain that deals with the sounds, and that area is what helps us to learn how to decode words and how to encode words or spell words. So all of these activities are developing the area of your child's brain that deals with sounds and preparing their brain to become a skilled, fluent reader. There are a lot of different activities that we can do to help a child with phonological awareness, and there's also a continuum of phonological awareness. At the lower end of the continuum, or the basic end, we have skills like taking a whole sentence and breaking that sentence into words. We also have skills like rhyming, and skills where we have compound words like cowboy, and we say things like, tell me the word cowboy, now say cowboy, but don't say boy, cow. So those are at the lower basic end of phonological awareness, and those are the skills that we would start to use and start to work with for children who are around the age of preschool. Once we get to where the children are beginning to read, I tend to work more on what we call phonemic awareness, which are the higher level skills. And phonemic awareness is dealing with the specific sounds within words. And phonemic awareness has been proven repeatedly by research to help your child with sounding out or decoding, or helping your child with segmenting or encoding for spelling. I tend to work on those skills because they're most linked to reading success. So when a child comes to me, we start to work on skills of breaking individual words into their sounds. And sometimes a child may not be quite ready to do this, so we start at a very basic level. We want to meet the child where they are and build success from there. So if a child comes to me, I will start working with them at a very basic level, if that's where they are, at putting some pictures or sounds together to form words. So when I start, if a child can't tell me that there are 3 sounds in sack, sack, or can't tell me what those sounds are, we'll start with something like this, where the actual answer is right in front of them. So I might say something like, s-a-k. What word did those sounds make? And again, the answer is right there in front of them. We're just starting to develop that brain and prime them to be able to process and think about the individual sounds within words. You'll notice that I'm always, with the child, going to move the sounds from left to right the same way that they would when they're reading. So we wouldn't say sack, but we'd start so that they're processing from left to right just like they would read. So sack, sack. Also on these words, there are letters at the bottom, and we don't always want to use letters with children. Sometimes when I have older kids who are coming to me, they've had so much frustration with trying to learn letters and sounds and trying to read that when they see those letters, they immediately shut down and they refuse to work, or they get so frustrated that they can't even think about what they're doing. So if I have a child who is like that, I'll just cut those letters right off the bottom, and we'll only work with processing the sounds and not worry about those letters. And at the initial stages, we really don't want to worry about letters right away. We really just want to develop the brain and start thinking about those sounds of language. So we can have 2 different ways that we work with those sounds. Again, I can have the child blend the sounds, where I say the individual sounds, ah, p, and the child says mop. Or I can say, the word is mop. Can you tell me all of the sounds in the word mop? And then the child would respond with ah, p. There are lots of activities that we can do with these picture cards, but basically if the child is really struggling to process the sounds within words, We want to start right here where the child has the answer basically right in front of them, so they're feeling successful, because success breeds success. I also have other cards that I've made for playing games like Go Fish. So we have 2 sets of the words and we mix them just like we would play Go Fish, but then instead of saying to the child, do you have the word hen, I would say, do you have n? And the child would have to tell me that I said hen and then look for that match. Conversely, when it's the child's turn to go, then they would say, do you have d-a-g? And then I would say dog and look for the match. So we're teaching the child to think about the sounds within those words, and we're representing those sounds with manipulatives to make those sounds a little more real to them, as opposed to sounds which are fleeting and leave our brain quickly. This gives it a physical manifestation so that they understand that these sounds are individual parts of a word. So the Go Fish activity is a really good activity to use where they're doing both blending and segmenting when you're playing that game. And again, I just got pictures off of the internet. I looked up consonant, vowel, consonant words. I printed those pictures and I made 2 sets and I put them on cards, and then we play Go Fish that way. I have a lot of activities, and all of these activities is basically doing the same thing. You are just giving a consonant, vowel, consonant word to your child, and you're helping your child to recognize those individual sounds within that word. That can be extremely boring for children though, and we don't want to make them sit at a table and completely lose their interest. So we try to come up with different creative ways to do the exact same thing. The list of words really isn't that important. You don't have to spend a ton of money on buying an expensive manual. You really just need a list of consonant, vowel, consonant words, and then I'll give you all of these ideas and things that you can do at home to make using that list a lot more interesting, so that we can prime your child's brain and get your child's brain ready to learn how to spell and read. I do want to say also that when you're working with your child and you're saying sounds and words, sometimes adults have a tendency to add a vowel to the end of the sound when they're trying to say it. So for instance, they might say ka-a-ta. And when we do that, it makes our brain think that there are extra syllables within that word, so it will sound like ka-ata, ka-ata. And ka-ata isn't a word, but k-at is. So we have to be careful that we don't put extra sounds or extra vowels on the end of our consonants when we're saying those. And I will provide a link to help you practice those sounds so that we're saying those sounds in a manner that is most effective in helping your child. That will be on my website and at the end of this video. All right, so let's get into some of these ideas and talk about some things that you might do to help your child develop his or her phonological awareness skills. A lot of my kids don't like to sit still, and one way that I keep their attention is by getting them up and moving. So one of the activities that I do with them would be to put carpet squares on the floor, or to take pieces of construction paper and tape those onto the floor. And then for every sound we hear in a word, we jump forward on one of those carpet squares. So for cat, we would jump k, at. Or for mop, I could jump op. And then your child would have to tell me what word that is, mop. So we're working on those exact same skills, just in different ways. Another activity that I might do would be with a punching bag, and each time your child hears a sound in the word, they get to punch on the punching bag, or I could have more than one little punching bag out. So when they try to sound out the word fish, they could punch f-i-sh. So they're up and they're moving and they're engaging their brain and they're thinking about the sounds of those words. Something else that kids like to do would be finger painting. So we can spread out finger paint on a paper, and for each sound that we hear in a word, we can make a dot in the finger paint with our finger. So if I asked your child to tell me the sounds in pin, they could tell me p, I, n with the finger paint. I could also draw little stars or little hearts or something else for those sounds, but somehow representing those individual sounds within the words. Kids also enjoy any little difference that we have. I have these little foam blocks that I use to help children process the sounds in words. So for these, if I were saying all of the sounds in the word rock, I might ask your child, what word do these sounds make? R, a, k. And they can blend those together and tell me the word is rock. When I'm getting really creative, or when I'm losing a child's attention and they aren't paying attention or they don't seem to be interested, what I might let them do with these little foam blocks is if they say the sounds in the word correctly, then they get to throw the foam blocks at me for every sound that they say, or while they say the sounds, they can throw the blocks at me. So they would do something like r, a, k, and say those individual sounds. Other activities might include Play-Doh. So I might roll the Play-Doh balls or Play-Doh into balls and put them in front of the child, and then they get to smash a Play-Doh ball for each sound that they hear. I have little bags that are like cornhole bags, and for every sound that a child says correctly, they get to take a shot with a cornhole bag and try to make a basket. And sometimes if that's not enough of a motivator, I might attach money to it. So I might say, for every bag you get into the basket, I'll give you a penny or I'll give you a nickel, and they can say the sounds, let's say in the word bag, b, a, g, and they got all of those sounds correct. Then they're going to take those bags and they're going to shoot, and for every bag that they hit, then I'll give them a nickel. Other kids are motivated by pennies or money, so instead of bags and shooting for that, I might just put some pennies in front of the child, and then for every penny that they move and say the correct sound, I'll let them keep that penny. So if I ask them to tell me the sounds in the word pin, they would say p, I, n. They'd move the pennies, and then they would get to keep those 3 pennies because they said the correct sounds. Again, if your child is struggling with these activities and they're not able to break apart those individual sounds, then model that behavior for them and show them how you would do it, and then have them repeat right after you. Again, we're trying to develop that area of the brain, and for a lot of children, especially for children who have dyslexia, they need lots of practice at doing that. And they'll need to get a model and to be able to watch and learn from you and then grow from there. A lot of children pick up on phonological awareness or phonemic awareness on their own, especially those children who have really strong language areas and who notice and attend to sounds very clearly. But again, children who have dyslexia and children who are prone to struggle with reading do not process those sounds clearly and distinctly, and that's a skill that we have to teach them explicitly. Another way that I try to work on these with my little pirates and princesses, they like the gems, so they can earn gems, or we can just use the sounds for these, the gems for the sounds. So I might say the word a, p, and your child has to tell me mop. Or I might say what are all of the sounds in the word cut, and your child would tell me k, a, t. Again, they just like to use different manipulatives and different things to keep these activities different and interesting. Also, a lot of my kids like to use a hole punch. So if I say, tell me all of the sounds in the word game, g, a, m, I would have them put a hole for each sound they hear in the word game. And again, remember that we are doing sounds right here. We're not doing letters. So the word game does have 4 letters, but it only has 3 sounds, g, a, m. Another thing kids like to do to represent the sounds is use a bingo dauber. So if I ask them to say all of the sounds in the word kid, they could say k, I, d, and tell me the sounds in the word kid, representing each sound with a dot. Other activities, drawing with chalk on outside or on a chalkboard. Kids really enjoy using the lights to think about sounds. So if I have these in front of them, I will say, tell me all of the sounds in the word chip, and they will tell me ch, I, p. Or I might say, what word do these sounds make? Ch, I, p. And they'll tell me chip. Lights are particularly useful when we move to the next stage of therapy, where we start manipulating the sounds and taking away sounds or adding sounds to make new words. So if I say all of the sounds in cat, k, at, and then ask your child to say the word cat without saying k, then we would say at. So these are particularly useful for that, but you can use any of the manipulatives that way. You just take away the manipulative for the sound that you're trying to get the child to get rid of. We also have, let's see, you can use charts that have where you can use stamps. So I have these little marker stamps, and on this one in particular there are little hearts on there. So I ask your child first to tell me all of the sounds in cup, and for each sound they make a stamp. K, p, and then we put 3 stamps on that card because there are 3 sounds. We also can use stickers in the same way. So if your child is particularly interested in some character or some certain TV show, you can use stickers that represent that character or TV show to gain their interest and to have them really thinking about those sounds. Since Christmas is coming, I might do some Christmas stickers and have your child think about the sounds in the word sock. And as they do that, then they will put a sticker for s, a sticker for ah, and a sticker for k, and have the sounds s, ah, k represented on the paper. There are lots of different activities that you can do to help develop phonological awareness. And like I said, you really don't need a fancy book or any certain program. All you need is a list of words, a bunch of creative ideas, and some modeling and helping your child to be able to process those sounds. If you do feel like you would really like to have a book to follow, this is a good book, Equipped for Reading Success by David Kilpatrick. And again, he just goes over some ideas and gives you some phonemic awareness and some activities that you can help your child develop the area of their brain that deals with the sounds so that their brain is ready to become a skilled, fluent reader. So today I went over a lot of activities for consonant, vowel, consonant words, and that is the very beginning, and we want to make sure our children can do that before we move to the next stage, which would be consonant, consonant, vowel, consonant, and consonant, vowel, consonant, consonant words. I will provide a list of consonant, vowel, consonant words for you to use. I will also add this game to my website, which on this game, we're basically just taking the game, and it's a very simple game, but what we do is roll the die, and let's say your child gets a 2. They come right here to the word mug, and they have to tell me the sounds in mug, where I keep the representative in front of them, so mug, ug, and then I give them a bonus. If they can spell that word and get the spelling correct too, then they get a bonus spot forward, and I don't give myself bonuses, so that gives them a little extra incentive to try and be able to spell that word. So these are basic activities at the very basic level, and once your child is accomplished with these, again, we move to the next level and we start developing those skills. I did want to tell you also that the Florida Center for Reading Research has some ideas and some games that are pre-made and ready to go that you can use and print off to help your child develop their phonological and phonemic awareness skills. So if you go to that website, which I will provide a link, then you can have some additional activities that you might use. But again, just get creative and start helping your child think about the sounds in language, because that's the part of the brain that we need to use to become a skilled, fluent reader. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope you found some useful information and some good therapy techniques that you might use to help develop your child's phonological awareness. See you next time.